Hello, everybody, and welcome. We have got Rachel Hart-Phillips joining us today from Love, Loss, and Disco Balls. So, welcome, Rachel.
Hi Tara, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. You and I have spoken on Instagram for, the best part of a year, but we've never
Yeah,
actually spoken in face to face. And I've been watching your Instagram grow rapidly in the last year with this burgeoning project, which we're going to talk about
yeah,
today. Um, but grief and loss, sadly, only too well. So perhaps we can begin with you sharing your story and what led you to creating Love Loss Disco Balls.
yeah, of course. Same as yourself. I've had a lot of loss in my life. I lost my dad when I was 20. I lost him to lung cancer, and then later lost my mum to breast cancer when I was 34. And then, yeah, not long after that, I lost my first husband to suicide when I was 5 months pregnant. Lots of loss there, experiencing it young, experiencing it older, and also, just how difficult losing to someone to suicide is as well. And having to get through that pregnant and becoming a mum on my own. And then later, moving on to five again as well. Being in a good place again in life now, 6 years later. But Love Lost Disco Ball sort of came about because I've obviously received a lot of sympathy cards in my time. And there was just never really any that suited me at all. So I don't even remember getting any for my dad. I'm sure, I don't know about you, when you lost your mum and dad young as well, there was just nothing suited, is there, for young people? And then when I lost out my first husband, I was just getting these cards, and it was just like, angel wings and doves with saying with deepest sympathy on the loss of your husband. And I was just like, these are just making me feel worse, making me feel a bit depressed, and just reminding me that, this shouldn't be happening to someone of my age. So yes, a friend got me a card, and it was colourful, and it just said it was about friendship. And I kept that bed by my, I kept that card by my bed for ages afterwards, and it did bring a smile to my face every morning. It cheered me up a little bit. So yeah, I was doing a post on my Instagram about that one day, and I was like, that's what we need to do, like modern, colourful sympathy cards that, just bringing a little bit of light to what is the darkest time. And then, my new husband, we recently remarried in Ibiza. And he's actually a graphic designer, and he's worked designing greetings cards before as well. So yeah, I went running into the room and I was like, brightly coloured sympathy cards. And he was just like, yes, that's it. That's what we need to be doing. So yeah, that's how it was born. And we launched it properly in January this year, and it's just been great so far. We've just had such amazing feedback. And it's from the people who've received the cards mainly as well, like saying that it was just what they needed, and it brought them a little bit of light. It's just exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
And I completely relate to the cards that have been out there and how they don't feel, as you say, very helpful, or they feel really old-fashioned. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because, yeah, getting that sort of balance between the message of what you want to receive. But I'm somebody who really loves bright colors as well.
Yeah,
And what you've created is something very modern and uplifting as well at the same time. And so I'm
yeah,
not surprising. There was like a huge, gap in the market. And so out of something, many things that have been deeply painful, you have you have used your creativity to create this new business. And yeah, how amazing that your new husband is the designer, and the great job that he's done as well.
yeah, and that's it. And it's when you talk about a gap in the market, it's a bit of a weird. There is totally, but it's a bit of a weird thing. It's not, like to say, oh, we're filling a gap in the market, but it's something that I would have wanted as well. And it's yeah, I don't think you could really do it without having full experience of what you would actually need in that position.
Yeah,
And then but having the skills between us to be able to do it as well.
absolutely. And do you want to share any of the, have you got the cards nearby at all?
Um,
Just wondered if you could
yeah, I don't. They're in the other room. I haven't got any with me, unfortunately. I can
okay,
run and grab you one if you want.
or maybe share a couple of the messages on the front with people.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got things like I wanted to be quite specific, really. So there's some people do like to say sorry for your loss, and there are no words, so we've kept things like that. But it was quite important for me to, it's you don't want someone to skirt around the issue when you've lost someone special, but you don't want it to be generic, like on the loss of your mother or something. So we've included phrases like "sorry you lost your awesome mum" or "sorry you lost your amazing dad." And again, it was thinking, you do want someone to tell you how wonderful your person was, um, yeah, I've sent a couple of these cards myself, and they do actually encourage you to write a memory in there as well, because you're thinking about how amazing the person was instead of just sending, a generic platitude. And then things like "sorry you lost your soulmate," "sorry you lost your person," and I think they are the kind of phrases that you would use to speak to someone.
Mhm.
That's one of the sort of rules we've gone by, is if you wouldn't say it to someone's face, then why would you put it on a card?
Mm. And you mentioned, obviously you've experienced the death of your parents and then the death of your spouse, which was suicide, which
Yeah.
I think for, so many people, that's a really, really difficult one to find the words. And in your
Yeah.
experience, what did you feel were helpful words, or which card would you choose in that circumstance?
I would, for that one, yeah, I would probably just use "there are no words," because I think people just scramble to find them, don't need to find any words. And you want someone to say something, of course, but, and saying something's always better than nothing. But it's when someone would try and use "at least" when someone's died by suicide. I don't really think there's an "at least" you could think of. There's nothing when you lose anyone at all. But people would say things like that to me, or "at least they're out of pain" or whatever, and you just think, well, I didn't want them to be in that kind of pain. There's no bright side. So I think, yeah, just simple, straight to the point phrases that don't try and make it better. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like really extraordinary circumstance for you as well, being 5 months pregnant without the
Mm,
support of your parents.
yeah.
It's a lot
Yeah.
that you had to go through, Rachel.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It was awful.
Hmm.
But we have cards as well. I mean, we don't just cater for loss. We do any kind of hard times, so any kind of supportive messages. And again, it's just keeping it modern and keeping it with things that you would say to each other. So we have like "here for you, girl," or "here for you, mate," and things like that. Which, yeah, it's just something you would say, isn't it? It's yeah,
I've got your back. Was
I've
that
got your
one?
back. Yeah, that is one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, you really matter to me. Just anything like that. But yeah, with everything that we've done, it's all been about keeping it simple with the designs. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, we only use sort of like 2 or 3 colours on each card, but they're all bright and contrasting. And just sort of taking a lot of inspiration from nature. We use a lot of sunsets, sunrises, which it's like a glimmer, isn't it? When you see a beautiful sunset, it regulates your nervous system, doesn't it? It calms you down, and yeah, just one little moment of seeing something beautiful like that can just, it can really help. So that's what we're aiming to do.
And aiming very well, I may add. And I really love the idea of that you talk about the disco ball and
Yeah,
how a disco ball is made up of all these broken pieces of glass, and but then it gives off this like extraordinary light. And I was thinking about, in your own experience when, you've been in this extraordinary time of pain and loss. Um, Perhaps you could share with the listeners something that you sort of held on to in those times that gave you some hope.
Yeah, there's a few things really. The main one was my friends. Like, they were just amazing, and the support they gave me, and knowing how there they were for me, and coming and spending time with me. Just I never felt like I couldn't talk to them, or that they were getting bored with me or anything like that. They were just amazing, all of them. And then one of the other main things, particularly sort of after Aunt died, was my mum lost my dad, and she lost him quite young. I think she was 43 when my dad died, but she moved on to find my stepdad, and she remarried, and she was happy again. So that was one of the first thoughts I had when Aunt died, was that I'd seen my mum go through this, and I knew that she came out of the other side and she lived her life again and she was happy again. So I think it's, and I think that's why we all, have these, our grief pages, and why people seek out these stories, is because you just need a little bit of hope, don't you? A little bit of evidence that you can get through it and that you are going to be okay in the end. You will be a disco ball one day.
Yeah, I think that's such a, a cool kind of analogy of how that you'll shine again. And I know that one of the things that we talked about on Instagram was that we shared this love of Ibiza and
Yeah,
dancing, and I know that that's also something really important to you as well.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the dance floor is just one of the most healing places there is. It really is. But there's loads of science behind that as well, isn't there? Like the
Yeah,
connection and
dancing and
just, yeah,
music and
yeah,
finding things that uplift us, as you were talking about the sunset and nature, being another really uplifting key thing that's completely free and
yeah,
obviously depending on where we are, where we get sunsets. We don't get beautiful sunsets every day, but
yeah,
we do get them.
yeah. Sunsets and disco balls. It's a bit written all over it, isn't it?
It really does. And I know it's still quite recent, but um, when you described sort of getting that like aha moment of like, this is what we should do, we should create these, these greeting cards, or I mean, even the word sympathy card, I don't know how you feel about
Yeah.
that word.
No, I don't like it. We use it at the moment just because that's what it's called at the minute. But
Category.
yeah, yeah, and just because people know what we're talking about. But yeah, I would definitely like to change that. I mean, even empathy cards would be better.
Hmm.
Well, it'd be much better because yeah, sympathy. It's the last thing you want, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, maybe it
You
would
don't
be
want to be
nice, like
pitied.
compassion cards.
Compassion cards is nice. You might steal that. I'll credit you.
Yeah.
Yeah, compassion cards is lovely. Yeah, even bereavement cards as well. It's not the best word, is it? But yeah, compassion cards is lovely. Like
Yeah,
that.
there's like a lot of, I don't know, sometimes I think the wording is heavy. Like the wording, like I always think mourning sounds like a really heavy word as well. And yet it's really important in part of our grieving process. But yeah, sometimes the languaging around grief, not to say it should be all uplifting, because we don't want to like not feel
Mm,
it and be with it and bypass it. But
yeah, mourning does like strike up like Victorian widows, doesn't it?
it really does. How do you feel like this creative endeavor has sort of changed things for you?
Yeah, wow, it's totally changed it for me. Yeah, I mean we're doing things as well. Like we're donating to Campaign Against Living Miserably, from our online card sales, but it's just like the whole thing has just got me to such a good place. Like losing someone to suicide is so complicated, and there's a lot of anger and guilt and shame and all kinds of different emotions included within it. And I feel like it's freed me from them a little bit, from any sort of like residual feelings of anger and things like that. Um, yeah, it's just using it to do something worthwhile and something that means so much. And yeah, it just made me feel quite at peace with everything that's happened. Yeah, I suppose it's just turning darkness into light a little bit, isn't it? And taking it full circle almost.
Yeah,
Thinking that
absolutely.
I could help someone in the position that I was in.
And Rachel, would you be open to sharing a little bit about, maybe how you process some of your anger, like, or the really complicated emotions?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think for me, lockdown wasn't that long after Aunt died. Well, I had Johnny, my son, in the December. Aunt died in the August, and I had Johnny, and then in the March it was lockdown, and I just walked and walked and walked with Johnny in his little pram, and that helped me so much. I think just back to the nature thing. It was just walking by the sea every day and just really thinking and really feeling, and not having the distractions of everyday life because the rest of the world had stopped too at that time. But yeah, it just gave me so much time to process it all. And by the end of that first lockdown, I did feel like I'd released a lot of those emotions just by being outside and walking. But yeah, it's kind of like meditation, isn't it? Walking in nature. But yeah, I think it's really helped since talking about it as well, and you know, connecting with people who've had similar experiences, and just finding out that these are natural feelings. There's nothing to feel ashamed of or bad for. Because it's so easy to get stuck in this cycle of feeling angry with them and then feeling guilty and then feeling sad and beating yourself up. But as soon as you sort of come to realise that these feelings are natural and you should feel them all, then you get to a good place with it. But it takes a lot of time, but it's a conscious effort as well.
Mhm.
It's too easy to bottle these things up.
Yeah, but I mean, you were going through that at a stage of being very isolated as well.
Mm,
And
yeah, I mean, I was lucky that I got to stay with my auntie for the whole of lockdown. I don't. It would have been a totally different story if I was on my own. I don't know. Don't know how I would have managed.
Mhm. And with the anger, did you ever sort of have intentional kind of times of screaming or crying or hitting things, or were you just more of a sort of
Yeah,
did it more
definitely.
in your own peaceful walking way?
Yeah, I know there was lots of crying. I'm not really very good at being angry. It just gets me upset. So
Mhm.
yeah, and it's a confusing emotion, isn't it?
It
Especially
is.
yeah, especially when you're being angry at someone who's not here and has obviously suffered.
Mhm.
And you can get it. It doesn't have to be suicide for those emotions when you've lost someone. Anger is such a common one.
It really is. Yeah. Were you much of a writer? Did you write it out or?
I did actually, yeah. Yeah, I've never really been one for journaling, but I did it a lot after Aunt died.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you, I've got quite a lot of a book written at the moment. But, yeah, that was a big help for me as well, like getting it all out.
Yeah, I think
Really.
it's amazing for that. Especially like you say, if you're not somebody that really wants to emote in a, angry way, that doesn't outwardly feel comfortable for you. Because I always say to people, we have to do what feels, authentic for us. And just for one
Mm,
person to like, I don't know, do something very physical, that might not be right for another person. But we kind of
yeah,
need to like find a way of getting it out of us somehow.
yeah, writing's such a great tool, isn't it?
Mhm. It really is. It really is. So anything else that you would like to share about love, loss, and disco balls? Also, the name is so great. I know that you're. I'm. I don't know, when did you come up with the name, or how did you come up with it? What was the story around that?
Yeah, I guess, well, the name was around before the business, so I just had my Instagram page as my name at first, and when you have your little bio, I had Love, Loss and Disco Balls as the bio, and then I changed my Instagram handle to that, and then when we came up with the idea to do the card company, we were like, what will we call it? It's like Love, Loss, Disco Balls, so it was already there, but yeah, people do like the name. I think, yeah, I think if you're going to sum my life up in 3 words, it will probably be it as well. So.
Yeah, it's a fantastic name. It really is.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've got loads of exciting stuff coming up, like getting into retailers. We've got our first trade show. Yeah, just things like that. Got a radio appearance coming up, which is exciting. So yeah, all kinds going on.
And you also have candles as well on the website.
Yes, yeah. We've got candles. It's like big square ones, and we've got the same sort of messages on, like love and light, and you're also loved, and things like that. And they're quite nice because when they burn down, like the messages glow through. The
Mhm.
words, the kind of goes through the letters, which is quite nice.
Really lovely. Yeah, I've seen the
Yeah.
designs, and again, they're fantastic. So,
Thanks.
yeah, everything is, super modern and fresh, and yeah, just like nothing else I've seen before. So it's cool.
Yeah, Warren is, yeah, he's such a great designer, and that's sort of his style as well, like keeping it simple,
Hmm.
not loads of illustrations and things, just, yeah, saying what they need to say.
And if people want to order them from outside the UK, are you doing international shipping?
Yeah, we do international shipping. One other thing actually that I forgot to mention is that we have a range which is designed for men to send to each other as well, which is quite a big narrative change that we're trying to do. Men don't generally buy each other cards, but again, it's just here for you, mate, and words like that, just keeping it simple. Because they're just such a great way to check in with people, aren't they? Like,
They really
it's
are. And I think like, I hope that we're kind of coming back to sending things more, because obviously in the digital age, we so infrequently even receive posts these days.
mm,
We just mainly get, the odd bill, and the art of sort of letter writing is really sadly gone out of fashion. And
yeah,
it's lovely when you get a hand, because even with, like, I use Moonpig, but that's mainly because, like, of convenience, or I haven't got to go to a shop and buy one. But that's not very personal either, because you're not hand writing it. Um,
yeah,
and I think that it means so much to get, so that someone's taken the time to choose a card, to write in it, and then post it. And that
yeah.
in itself feels like so much more meaningful than somebody receiving a bunch of flowers, for example.
I think so. Yeah, and especially like the kind of things you would send our cards for.
Hmm.
You probably wouldn't go onto Moonpig for that kind of thing. You would want to write a personalised letter. And yeah, I agree. I think it'd be so lovely, like just seeing a card and thinking, I know someone who's having a hard time. I thought, I saw this and I thought of you.
Hmm.
It's just a lovely thing, isn't it? So, but yeah, I hope they're coming back. It's a bit of a forgotten sort of tradition, isn't it? But it's one we should really keep hold of.
Yeah, it truly is.
Mm.
And just to remind our friends, like you say, you don't have to buy the card because somebody has died. You can buy a card telling your who's so important to you, like, you are
Yeah,
so loved, or someone's going through a hard time, and remind people that they're being thought of and cared about, and how much
yeah, exactly.
that is. And would you like to share a bit about the charity that you're supporting?
Yeah, so Campaign Against Living Miserably Calm. So they are sort of supporting suicide prevention. They have helplines and things like that. But they just shout so loudly about it, and yeah, they do such an amazing job. They have a good thing on the website at the moment called a care pack, and it's all sort of, you know, how to deal with someone who's a young person who's feeling suicidal. It's things like, you know, people would be terrified of saying to someone, "Are you thinking about suicide?" But that you should do that, because, you know, people are just scared to say the word, aren't they? In case, you know, they think that they're going to put the idea into someone's head, but it needs to be faced right there, you know, head on. So they just do some amazing work. Yeah, did you watch Big Boys at all? The
No, I
program?
didn't.
I'd recommend it. The guy who wrote it, he's an ambassador for Calm,
Okay.
and yeah, it's brilliant, and it's a lot of grief in there, but it's quite uplifting and hopeful, and all about friendship as well. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Okay, thank you for
So
sharing that.
it's a
And
job.
yeah, that's amazing that you've got that, link and affiliation and bringing more awareness into these conversations.
Hmm.
Because unfortunately, it's a pandemic in itself, isn't it, in
Yeah,
this country,
yeah,
especially in the young men right now.
yeah, and it's just scary to think, you know, you can be married to someone, and you know, they can be your soulmate, but you still don't know it's on the mind. So it really is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you, Rachel, for the amazing work that you're doing and
Oh, thank you,
bringing
Tara.
more awareness to this charity as well.
Thank you. It's
Is
been
there
so lovely to meet
anything
you
else
today.
that you would like to share before we finish our conversation about grief and creativity?
No, I don't think so. Well, one thing is I am leaving my 9 to 5 tomorrow to focus on the business full time. So that is super exciting, a little bit scary, but it just feels right. And yeah, um, you know, just to be doing something that matters, and yeah, so you've got to take the leap sometimes, haven't you? And just go for it and be brave. So just don't, yeah, I'd regret it if I didn't. And you know, I feel like we've got something so special that it deserves to get my 100% focus.
Well,
It's exciting.
congratulations on that. It is a big, scary move, but I've got absolutely no doubt that it's the right decision, and what you've created is, already showing itself to be a huge success. So I hope that anyone who's listening to this will go and check out it's lovelossdiscoballs.com
Yeah, .co.uk.
.uk, and I'll make sure we put a link to that as well underneath the interview.
Yeah, oh, brilliant. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, and it's been really lovely to meet you,
You too.
this conversation, and yeah, it's like we have these really hard things that happen in life, but you never know where life is taking us, do we? And this is something really beautiful that's come out of so much pain.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's, you know, for both of our purposes really. So, you know, if you're grieving and you're struggling, then, you know, there is, you know, if things do get better, it does get easier, it doesn't go away, but you know, you learn to live with it, and sometimes you can turn it into a purpose as well. But also on the other front, you know, if you're struggling and you can't see a future for yourself, you know, if you just stick around, things can completely change in ways you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, on both.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone who's been listening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.